This video will show you how to create a photogrammetric model using the software Metashape, using as example an Aztec jade figure from Mexico, which is part of the museum collection at the University of Bonn. The video was created by the Bonn Center for Digital Humanities as an exercise for students and includes all steps of a project from image input to the finished model of an object so that students can create their own models using these instructions. To start the 3D reconstruction, all images are selected and dragged into the field for photos or loaded via Add Images. The object was photographed from all sides, resulting in a total of 101 photos. A portable photo studio was used for this, a camera on a tripod and an automatic turntable to change the position of the object and to photograph the same white background. With adequate lighting, the photos can also be taken manually, for example with a good mobile phone camera and in front of a neutral background. The Metashape program is based on the principle of structure from motion, where the photos are taken in a sequence and the same points are found in different pictures to align them against each other. It is therefore important that the individual images overlap well so that all areas of the object have been photographed several times. The more matching points are found, the more accurately the photos are aligned, and the better the model will become. The first 20 images show markers that were automatically recognized by the software in order to scale the object. These high-precision markers can be taken from the Metashape program and need to be printed out in A4 size. The markers show fixed distances, are automatically recognized and recorded by the program. You can see that the number shows the distance between two black graduated circles, which are recognized by the software. The distance information should, of course, be saved together with the photos, as it is not possible to measure the size of an object by just using the photos without scale. If it is not possible to add markers to the object because of its nature or because it cannot be moved or touched, the distance measurements could also be taken on the object itself and the information is then inserted by hand. To perform this first calculation, a powerful computer is needed, equipped with a lot of processing power and good graphics card, for example a gaming laptop or PC. Here in our case, too many images were taken with markers, which would make the photogrammetric calculation of the model more difficult. I therefore deactivate all but 10 images with markers. If I wanted to include all of them, the markers would be visibly included in the 3D reconstruction, making it difficult to clean up the model. The next step is to detect the markers. The settings in Detect Markers can remain as specified. The great advantage of using the markers provided by the software is that they are automatically detected by the program on each image and do not have to be set by hand, as was previously the case. As you can see, many images now have target flags. A photo that is marked by a green flag indicates that the markers within the photos have also been recognized, even those left out for recognition. To the right of the screen is a list of the 6 recognized markers, shown as blue flags. We now have to measure the distance between the targets. For this, we need to have a look at our PDF again, from which we can easily read the measurements. I now simply mark 2 targets and match them with the distance information in the list on the paper. Then I transfer the distance values taken from the list between 2 targets. To reduce the errors for this object, I create 4 scales between the 6 markers and enter the values. Now the project has all the external information it needs, and the photos have a comparative scale. How is the information from the two-dimensional photos transferred to a three-dimensional space? With the help of known or given camera parameters, such as the aperture size, exposure time, and the distance from the lens to the image surface, the camera position to the photographed object in space can be calculated from the comparison of three photos. The photos are compared point by point with the help of an algorithm based on the bundle block adjustment and aligned in a virtual three-dimensional space. We start with the first step of the 3D reconstruction by selecting Workflow, Align Photos from the menu. If possible, you should specify a high point resolution here in order to find many matching points and thus get a high resolution result. On a slower computer, however, you can also select medium or low as the image resolution to produce the result more quickly but less precisely. Even on this computer, the processing actually took a few minutes and has been shortened here in the video. The duration depends on the speed of the processor. As you can see, at the end of the calculation, we first get an error message that not all images could be aligned. This is a common error that can occur when we have taken too few images. Therefore, the image overlap is not sufficient, the object might be too complicated, or too little of the object can be seen in some images. Here, the error happened because we deactivated some of the marker images. You can look at the errors in a list to see exactly which images are causing problems. The processing ended with the first image also not aligned. We will try to run the process again just for this one image. In this case, unfortunately, it did not work. However, since enough images were referenced, the missing image will have no effect on our further processing. In the picture, you can see plenty of white and blue dots on the statue and the surrounding area. These dots indicate in color whether pixels were detected only on one image, the white dots, or on several images, meaning the blue dots, and whether the dot is thus included in the 3D reconstruction. It is quite noticeable that a lot of blue dots were detected on the object itself, and thus many images correspond with each other. So the overlapping worked well. The white dots are mostly in the background, are not used further, and therefore do not appear in the finished model. The dots can be switched on and off in the menu. We can now click on Model and look at the processed result. We are still seeing a so-called low density point cloud, the first step in the 3D reconstruction. However, the points are already pretty dense. Again, the closer together the points are already in the low density model, the more accurate the algorithm is and the better it is for the model. Switching on the camera positions, we can see that the model appears to the program as if we have recorded our object in empty space from all sides. We achieve this by fooling the program, using a background that is as neutral as possible, preferably white. In addition, the position of the figure on the plate must be changed at least once, rotated by 180 degrees, for example, in order to include the otherwise unexposed underside or backside. For this purpose, a diffuse, for example unfocused light should be used to avoid shadows being cast on the figure. However, the markers as a measure are only being included for the first position. Thus, the algorithm only uses the figure for orientation. The points from the targets that are still shown here will be deleted later. Turning on the markers, we can now also recognize the scale of the model. In the list on the right side, you can notice how big the error is within the model, and in our case, it is less than 0.03 millimeters. If we now look at the model from all sides, we can see clearly that we have captured all parts of the object. However, in addition to the object, unfortunately some parts of the background are also visible in the model, so we'll still have to do some cleanup. To clean up these unwanted points, we select gradual selection. It offers a variety of statistical methods to select points according to certain criteria. First, we select reprojection error. This tool shows us the projection error values. For example, the discrepancy between the calculated point projected into the point cloud in respect to the original pixels in the photos. Its values are given in pixels. We move the slider until all pixels with a distance of more than 0.25 pixels are red. We always recognize our selection by the selected points having turned pink. I can now simply delete the selected points with the Remove button. The most deviating points are thus deleted. We can now optimize the model and have the errors displayed. With a click on Optimize Camera Alignment, we can calculate the deviations of each point with Estimate Tie-Point Covariance. Under the point cloud symbol, we can visualize the deviations in color using point cloud variance. From the values of the color bar, you can see that the deviations are overall not extreme. Nevertheless, the red points show a stronger deviation and the blue ones a smaller one. This time we select projection accuracy for gradual selection and move the slider to a level of about 10. Statistically, we want to reduce the value of the red dots to about 10%. We have now marked a large proportion of all red dots. Again, we select the tie-point covariance and delete the red marked points. We can now select the next filter and repeat the steps with the reconstruction uncertainty via gradual selection. If, with two cameras, a point is triangulated by the intersection of two rays, there's one direction in which the deviation of the point position is maximum and another in which the deviation is minimum. By dividing the maximum value by the minimum value, we obtain the reconstruction uncertainty value. This value generally characterizes the accuracy of the positioning of the points in the point cloud. Again, a level of about 10 is set and the selected points are deleted. It is easy to see now from the remaining points that the various filters applied have now removed the last erroneous points and the surface of the point model has been smoothed. We should make sure that the last changes have been applied and are visible by clicking on the icon of the circling arrows. The projection error has not changed anymore, which remains below 0.3 mm. The next step will be to calculate the dense point cloud in the following video.